There once lived a dog in a village. He was always hungry and looking for food. The dog was also very greedy and was never satisfied with what he had or got. The dog kept wandering everywhere, searching for food, and could never get content. Each time the dog got food, he would promise himself that he would be happy with what he had and not crave it anymore. But within a few seconds, he would forget the promise and try to look for more food or grab it from another animal. One day he was wandering and searching for food as usual. A river flowed by his house and a bridge was there to help everyone cross to the other side. He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side. He looked all around but could not find anything. Suddenly, he spotted a bone lying outside a small hut. The bone was big and juicy, and he ran to grab it and held it tightly in his mouth. He thought he would cross the bridge and eat it at leisure at home. He was afraid that if any of his friends or other animals spotted the bone, they would also want a share of it. He wanted to devour it all by himself. As he was crossing the bridge to go home, he saw another dog holding a bone in its mouth. He noticed that the bone looked as juicy and big as the one he had. He began to think about how lucky he would be if he got that bone to eat too. He started thinking of ways to get the other bone from the dog in the river. He barked at the dog, assuming the other dog would immediately throw the bone. The moment he barked, the bone in his mouth fell into the water. He also fell into the water in surprise and flowed away till he was able to get onto dry land. He then realized that the dog he saw was not another dog, but his own reflection. He regretted his action and realized it was a big mistake to be greedy. He had to return home without a bone and nothing to eat. He realized he had paid a heavy price for his greed. He learned his lesson and promised himself he would no longer be greedy. The summary of the greedy dog is simple. Greed can make one do foolish things and lose whatever we have in our hands. In the story, there was a dog, and he was very greedy. One day he found a juicy bone near a bridge. While crossing the bridge, he thought he saw another dog holding a bone similar to his. He didn't realize it was his own reflection in the water. He barked to scare away the other dog and snatch his bone, but lost his own as his bone fell into the water. He had to go empty-handed because of his greed. The moral of the story is, we should not be greedy. Greed is a curse and will make us do things that are not the right choices. Greed makes us selfish, short-tempered, anxious, and also jealous of others. It is foolish to be greedy in life. One must be content with what one has and not tempted by the possession of others. Greed stops us from welcoming challenges and gifts with courage and wisdom. Greed shrouds our minds and blocks us from seeing the actual value of things. It is wrong to be tempted by the possession of others and seek it. We must work hard to earn what we want and be satisfied with what we have.
Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and enlighten. Today, we bring you a tale of resilience and perspective. Let's dive in. A daughter complained to her father that her life was miserable, and she didn't know how she was going to make it. Her father, a chef, took her to the kitchen. He filled 3 pots with water and placed them on high heat. Once the water began to boil, he placed potatoes in 1 pot, eggs in the 2nd pot, and ground coffee beans in the 3rd pot. He let them sit and boil without saying a word. After 20 minutes, he turned off the burners. He took the potatoes out and placed them in a bowl. He did the same with the eggs and then ladled the coffee into a cup. Turning to his daughter, he asked, "What do you see?" "Potatoes, eggs, and coffee," she replied. "Look closer," he said, "and touch the potatoes." She did, and noted they were soft. He then asked her to break an egg. After removing the shell, she observed it was hard-boiled. Finally, he asked her to sip the coffee. Its rich aroma brought a smile to her face. "Father, what does this mean?" she asked. He explained that the potatoes, the eggs, and the coffee beans had each faced the same adversity, the boiling water, but each reacted differently. The potato became soft and weak. The egg became hard inside. But the coffee beans transformed the water into something new. "Which are you?" he asked his daughter. "When adversity knocks, how do you respond? Are you a potato, an egg, or a coffee bean?" The moral: in life, things happen around us and to us, but what truly matters is what happens within us. Which one are you? Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of resilience and wisdom. Remember, it's not about the adversity you face, but how you respond to it. Be the coffee bean. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and enlighten. Today, we bring you a tale of belief and perseverance. Let's get into it. As a man passed by a group of elephants, he noticed they were held by a small rope tied to their front leg. There were no chains or cages. Curious, he asked a trainer nearby why the elephants didn't break free despite their strength. The trainer explained, "When these elephants were young and much smaller, we used the same size rope to tie them. At that age, it was enough to hold them. As they grew up, they became conditioned to believe they couldn't break away. They never tried to break free because they believed the rope could still hold them." The man was amazed by this realization. Despite their ability to break free, the elephants remained tethered by their conditioned beliefs. This story mirrors our own lives. How often do we hold on to beliefs that limit us, simply because we failed once before? Failure is a part of learning. It's essential for growth and should never deter us from pursuing our goals. Remember, like the elephants, our potential is not defined by past setbacks. By challenging our limiting beliefs and pushing beyond our perceived boundaries, we can achieve extraordinary things. Thank you for watching. If this story resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more inspiring stories. Embrace the journey of growth and believe in your ability to break free from the chains of doubt. Believe in yourself, challenge your limits, and embrace the possibilities that await you. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that touch the heart and enlighten the soul. Today, we bring you a profound tale of resilience and perseverance. Let's dive in. A man's favorite donkey, Jack, fell into a deep well. No matter how hard he tried, the man couldn't pull Jack out. Desperate, he decided to bury the donkey to end its suffering. As soil was poured into the well, Jack felt the load, shook it off, and stepped up. With each load of soil, Jack continued to shake it off and step up. The more soil that was poured, the higher Jack rose. By noon, Jack had reached the top of the well and stepped out, unharmed. This remarkable tale of Jack teaches us a powerful lesson. In life, we often face challenges and feel overwhelmed, just like Jack in the well. However, if we adopt a mindset of resilience and determination, we can transform these challenges into opportunities for growth. Each problem we face is a chance to rise, to step up, and to move closer to our goals. The moral of this story is simple but profound. Life will always throw challenges and burdens our way. The donkey teaches us that it's not the load that breaks us down, but how we handle it. By shaking off our problems and using them as stepping stones, we can rise above adversity and reach greener pastures. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of resilience and wisdom. Remember, with perseverance and a positive attitude, you can overcome any obstacle. Shake off your burdens, step up, and rise to greener pastures. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that touch the heart and enlighten the soul. Today, we bring you a profound tale that reminds us not to judge others without understanding their journey. Let's dive in. A 24-year-old boy, seeing out from the train's window, shouted, "Dad, look! The trees are going behind!" Dad smiled, and a young couple sitting nearby looked at the 24-year-old's childish behavior with pity. Suddenly, he exclaimed again, "Dad, look! The clouds are running with us!" The couple couldn't resist and said to the old man, "Why don't you take your son to a good doctor?" The old man smiled and said, "We just came from the hospital. My son was blind from birth. He just got his eyes today." Every single person on the planet has a story. Before we rush to judgment, we must take a moment to consider that there is often more than meets the eye. Imagine seeing the world for the first time at the age of 24. The excitement, the wonder, the joy, things we often take for granted. For this young man, the world is a brand new place, filled with sights he has only dreamed of. Every tree, every cloud, every person, it's all a miracle. How often do we jump to conclusions without understanding the full picture? This story teaches us to approach others with kindness and empathy, to seek to understand rather than to judge. Every person has a unique journey, filled with unseen battles and triumphs. By choosing compassion over judgment, we can make the world a little brighter for everyone. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of inspiration and wisdom. Remember, the truth might surprise you. Choose kindness. Choose understanding. Choose empathy.
Once upon a time, there was a king who thought only of himself. He amassed great wealth by imposing high taxes on his people, who became poorer and poorer as a result. The king lived in a magnificent palace, while the people who built it for him resided in thatched huts and run-down hovels. His table was always laden with sumptuous food, while most of his subjects barely managed one plain meal a day, if that. The king didn't care about anyone else. As long as he had what he wanted, that was enough. One day, a hunter arrived at the palace gates, intent on teaching the selfish king a lesson. The hunter brought with him an enormous dog. The king, who was fond of hunting, was intrigued by the dog and welcomed them both into the palace grounds. But this dog was no ordinary dog. Her bark was as loud as thunder, and when she first barked, the noise shook the palace walls and terrified the king and his courtiers. The barking didn't stop with one or two barks. It continued relentlessly, making it impossible for anyone in the palace to hear themselves speak. Desperate, the king summoned the hunter. "Why does your dog make such a deafening noise?" the king asked. "The dog is hungry," replied the hunter. Immediately, the king ordered a large plate of meat to be brought. The enormous dog devoured it in no time and then resumed barking. Another plate was brought, and again the dog quickly ate it and began barking as loudly as ever. This happened repeatedly until the king, growing angrier, told the hunter to leave the palace. But the hunter stood firm. "Your Majesty, we have been sent by a power greater than you. We are here to stay," he declared. The king, unaccustomed to such defiance, was both frightened and perplexed. "Will nothing satisfy the hunger of your enormous dog?" he asked. "Nothing that is easy for you to give," the hunter replied. "Your Majesty, there are people in your kingdom who are starving because the food is hoarded by those who do not share it with the workers who grow it. This dog feels the hunger of every person in this kingdom who lacks food. As long as even one person is hungry, this dog will remain hungry and continue to bark." Hearing this, the king was more frightened than ever. It had never occurred to him that he had been wrong. He had always believed that his subjects existed to serve his whims. But now, faced with the unrelenting noise and the realization of his selfishness, he was forced to act. He called his wise advisors together and asked, What shall I do? The advisors deliberated and saw only two solutions. Either the dog must be killed or every hungry person in the kingdom must be fed. No one was willing to kill the dog, so there was only one option left. Everyone in the kingdom had to be fed. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more tales like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories. The king commanded, "Put all the palace servants to work at once. Bring out all the bags of rice, meat, vegetables, and fruits from the storerooms and gardens. Load them onto carts and distribute them throughout the kingdom until no one is hungry." The advisors and servants hurried to follow the king's orders. Soon, a long line of carts piled high with food left the palace and traveled to every village, delivering food to all who were hungry. Day after day, the carts continued their journey until every hungry person in the land had been fed. Finally, the enormous dog stopped barking and lay down quietly beside the king's chair. The kingdom was peaceful and the people were content. The dog remained by the king's side for several years, ensuring he remembered the lesson of justice. Occasionally, she barked to remind him, and each time the king was reminded of his duty to his people. Eventually, the dog was convinced that the king had truly changed. One morning, she stood up, left the palace, and went to bring justice to another land.
Once upon a time there was a peasant family who had a watchdog named Sultan among their household animals. The dog grew old, and thinking that he could no longer properly attend to his duties, the peasant chased him away. Dejected and with his head hanging low, the dog left the village complaining to himself, "So this is my reward for loyalty at a difficult job. After using up my youthful and energetic years at work, they chase me away and grant me no rest now that I am old and weak." He sadly went his way, wandering aimlessly about for many days without finding any tolerable shelter. Emaciated and weak from his long journey, he came to a forest. A wolf came out of the forest, ran up to the poor dog and cried, "Stop, old fellow, beware, you are now in my power." Hearing the wolf speak in this manner, the frightened old sultan said, "Dear friend, just take a good look at me, and your appetite for me will disappear. I would make the worst roast you have ever had, for I am nothing but skin and bones, but I do have some advice for you." The wolf said, "I don't need any advice from you, you miserable creature. I know what you will say even before you speak, namely that I should let you live. No, I won't change my mind. The long and the short of it is that I am going to eat you." To this the dog answered, "I wouldn't think of asking that of you, for I do not want to live any longer. Bite away as long as you want to. But I still have good advice for you. Wouldn't it be better to fatten me up before eating me? You wouldn't loose anything on the feed, because you would get it all back on me. Then I'd make a decent roast. What do you think, Brother Wolf?" The wolf spoke, "I'll do it, if the feeding doesn't take too long. Follow me to my hut." The dog did this, and together they went deeper into the woods. Arriving at the hut, Sultan crept inside, while the wolf went forth to hunt some game for the weak dog. When he returned, he threw his capture to Sultan, who ate it with relish. The next day the wolf came and spoke to the dog. "Yesterday you ate, today I will eat." The dog replied, "What are you thinking of, dear wolf? I scarcely felt yesterday's food in my stomach." To be sure, this irritated the wolf, but he had to be happy with going into the woods again to hunt game for the dog. With similar responses, our sultan put off the wolf as long as he was not strong enough to take on the wolf. The wolf continued to hunt and to bring the dog whatever he captured, eating little or nothing himself so that Sultan would have enough. Thus the dog grew ever stronger, while the opposite was true for the wolf. On the 6th day the wolf came to the dog and spoke, "I believe that you are ready now." Sultan answered, "Yes, indeed, to be sure, I feel so well that I will take you on unless you set me free." The wolf spoke, "You are joking. Just think, I've been feeding you for 6 days now, while eating nothing myself. Now am I to go away with nothing? That will never do." To this Sultan responded, "You are partially right, but does that give you the right to eat me up?" "That is the right of the strong over the weak," answered the wolf. "Right on," replied the dog, "and thus you have pronounced judgment on yourself." With these words he made a daring leap, and before the wolf knew it, he was lying on the ground, overpowered by Sultan. Because you allowed me to live, I will not kill you immediately, but rather submit your life to fate. Choose 2 companions, and I will do the same. Tomorrow come to this place in the woods with them, and we will settle our dispute." The 2 separated to seek out their fellow warriors. Angrily, the wolf went deeper into the woods. The dog hurried to the nearest village. After much pleading, the wolf got an ill-tempered, grumbling bear and a sly fox to be his comrades. Our sultan ran first to the parsonage, where he talked a large grey cat into going with him. Then he went to the town judge's barnyard, where he found a brave rooster as a second fellow warrior. It was just getting light, and the dog was already underway with his 2 companions. They had what they needed. He might even surprise his enemies while they were still deep in sleep. The wolf was the first one to awaken. He woke his comrades, then said to the bear, "You can climb trees, can't you? Be so good as to climb that tall fir tree and see if you can't get a glimpse of our enemies." The bear did this, and from the top of the tree he cried down, "Flee! Our enemies are very near, and what powerful enemies they are. One of them is riding proudly along, carrying many sharp sabres. They glisten strongly in the morning sun. Another one is walking stealthily after him, pulling a long iron rod behind. Woe unto us." The fox was so frightened at these words that he decided it would be advisable to make himself scarce. The bear hurriedly climbed down from the tree and crept into some thick brush, so that only the tip of his tail was showing. The enemy was now at hand. The wolf, seeing that his friends had deserted him, tried to get away, but Sultan confronted him. One leap, and the dog had the wolf by the back of his neck, and he finished him off. Meanwhile, the cat noticed the tip of the bear's tail moving in the brush. Hoping to catch a mouse, she snapped at it. Terrified, the bear jumped from his hiding place and fled in all haste up a tree, where he thought he would be safe from the enemy. But he was wrong, because the rooster was there as well. Seeing the bear in the tree, the rooster jumped from one branch to the next, always going higher and higher. The bear was beside himself. Terrified, he fell from the tree and lay there stone dead. And thus the battle ended. The news of the brave deeds of Sultan and his companions spread far and wide, also to the village where Sultan had formerly served. As a consequence, the peasant family took back their loyal watchdog and cared for him. The sun blazed high in the sky, casting long shadows over a battlefield strewn with the remnants of a fierce and brutal clash. The air was thick with the scent of iron and the echoes of the dying. Among the chaos stood Genghis Khan, the feared and revered ruler of the Mongol Empire, his eyes scanning the horizon with an intensity that could pierce through steel. Victory was at hand. His forces had crushed the enemy, their resistance shattered under the relentless might of the Mongol horde. Yet amid the fallen, one figure stood out, a solitary warrior, bloodied but unbowed, who had fought with a ferocity that demanded attention. This enemy had shown unparalleled bravery, standing his ground when others had fled or fallen. Genghis Khan, known for his ruthless efficiency, approached the warrior with measured steps. His reputation as an unforgiving conqueror preceded him, and the expectation was clear: swift execution. The battlefield fell silent, every eye on the Khan and the defiant warrior kneeling before him. As Genghis Khan drew closer, his sharp eyes met those of the warrior. In that brief, electric moment, he saw something unexpected, a glimmer of loyalty, a spark of courage. The warrior's gaze did not waver, and there was no plea for mercy, only a fierce pride. This moment, suspended in time, was unlike any other in Genghis Khan's brutal campaigns. The great Khan paused, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. Time seemed to stretch as the world held its breath. What went through his mind in those few eternal seconds? Was it the countless battles, the rivers of blood he had waded through, or perhaps the realization that true strength lay not just in victory but in wisdom? In an unprecedented act of mercy, Genghis Khan lowered his sword. The battlefield erupted in a collective gasp. Instead of executing the warrior, he extended his hand and spared the man's life. This decision, born from a fleeting moment of empathy, sent ripples through the annals of his empire. The warrior, now standing, bowed deeply to Genghis Khan, his expression a mix of surprise and profound gratitude. The Khan's generals and soldiers watched in astonishment. Their fearsome leader had shown mercy, recognizing the virtues of an enemy. This act of compassion did not go unnoticed, and demonstrated that even the fiercest leader could show mercy. Word of this act spread quickly throughout the Mongol Empire. Soldiers whispered of their leader's unexpected leniency, and many began to see him not just as a conqueror, but as a wise ruler who valued true strength both in combat and in character. This singular act of mercy became a cornerstone of Genghis Khan's legacy, reshaping his image from a mere warlord to a sagacious leader capable of profound empathy. As Genghis Khan and his army continued their campaigns, he carried this lesson with him. He began to listen more intently to his generals, valuing their counsel and insights. His decisions, while still strategic and often ruthless, were tempered with newfound wisdom. The empire grew not only in size but also in its cultural and intellectual depth. Genghis Khan invited scholars, artisans, and philosophers to his court, eager to learn and adapt their knowledge to strengthen his rule. This balance of strength and compassion earned him not only victories on the battlefield, but also the loyalty and respect of his men. They fought not just out of fear, but out of genuine admiration for their leader. The loyalty he commanded was unparalleled, and his armies were unstoppable, driven by a leader who understood the true value of human life and dignity. In the years that followed, Genghis Khan's empire expanded even further. But it was his ability to recognize and reward bravery and loyalty even in an enemy that solidified his place as one of history's greatest leaders. His empire became a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and innovations, all flourishing under his enlightened yet firm rule. From Persia to China, the vast Mongol Empire thrived, and at its heart was a leader who had learned the delicate balance of mercy and might. From that day forward, Genghis Khan's rule was characterized by an intricate blend of power and empathy. His legacy was built not just on the lands he conquered, but on the lives he touched with his unexpected acts of mercy. This blend of fierceness and compassion made him a figure both feared and revered, a ruler whose lessons in leadership echo through history. Just like Genghis Khan, we too can find wisdom in the most surprising places. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe for more enlightening tales from history. Sometimes the greatest acts of leadership come from unexpected moments of mercy.
In ancient Greece, Diogenes of Sinope was a philosopher known for his ascetic lifestyle and sharp wit. He was a student of Antisthenes, who taught him the principles of cynicism, advocating for a life lived in virtue, free from the distractions of wealth and societal expectations. Diogenes took these teachings to heart and chose to live in a simple barrel, owning nothing but a lantern, which he famously used during the day to search for an honest man, symbolizing his quest for truth. One bright and sunny morning, Diogenes was relaxing by his barrel, enjoying the warmth of the sun. He was deep in thought when the great conqueror Alexander the Great, surrounded by his retinue of soldiers and advisors, approached him. Alexander had heard tales of Diogenes' wisdom and peculiar lifestyle, and was eager to meet the man who dared to reject all worldly possessions and live in such poverty. Alexander stood before Diogenes, casting a shadow over him. "I am Alexander the Great," he proclaimed, his voice filled with authority. "I have conquered lands far and wide, and I possess the wealth of nations. Ask anything of me, and I shall grant it." Diogenes, without looking up or showing any sign of being impressed, simply said, "Yes, you can do something for me. Stand out of my sunlight." The crowd that had gathered around them gasped in shock. They could not believe that anyone would speak to Alexander the Great in such a manner. Alexander's generals and advisors were ready to punish Diogenes for what they saw as insolence. However, Alexander, who had conquered empires and faced countless adversaries, was taken aback by Diogenes' fearlessness and lack of concern for material wealth or power. After a moment of silence, Alexander laughed heartily. "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes," he said, acknowledging the philosopher's inner strength and contentment. Despite his vast conquests and immense power, Alexander recognized that true happiness and freedom were found within oneself, not in external achievements. This encounter between Diogenes and Alexander the Great became legendary, illustrating a profound lesson. True wealth and power do not come from material possessions or conquests, but from inner contentment and freedom. Diogenes, with nothing but his barrel and his lantern, was richer in spirit than the man who had conquered the world. As Diogenes basked in the sunlight once again, the crowd dispersed, murmuring among themselves about the lesson they had just witnessed. Alexander the Great, though a mighty conqueror, walked away with a newfound respect for the simplicity and wisdom of the philosopher. Just like Diogenes, we should seek inner contentment and find value in simplicity. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe for more inspiring tales from history. In the 13th century, Genghis Khan, the founder of the Mongol Empire, was known for his military genius and unifying a vast territory. His empire stretched from the steppes of Mongolia to the edges of Europe, and his leadership was marked by both fierce battles and deep wisdom. Despite his fearsome reputation, Genghis Khan valued loyalty and wisdom above all. One of the most poignant stories from his life illustrates the importance of mercy and understanding. One crisp autumn day, Genghis Khan decided to go hunting with his favorite hawk. This hawk was not just any bird. It had been with him for many years, aiding him in countless hunts. The bond between Genghis Khan and his hawk was one of mutual respect and trust. As they ventured deep into the forest, the emperor felt confident and at peace, knowing his faithful companion was by his side. Hours passed, and Genghis Khan, having had little success in his hunt, grew tired and thirsty. He came across a stream and eagerly filled his cup to drink, but just as he was about to quench his thirst, his hawk swooped down and knocked the cup from his hands. Startled and slightly annoyed, Genghis Khan tried again to drink, but once more the hawk intervened. Frustration welled up within him. He couldn't understand why his trusted companion was behaving so erratically. In a moment of anger, feeling betrayed and desperate for water, Genghis Khan drew his sword and killed the hawk. As the bird lay dead, Genghis Khan's eyes fell upon its lifeless body, and a pang of guilt and sorrow washed over him. With a heavy heart, he continued upstream, determined to drink directly from the source. To his horror, he discovered a poisonous snake lying dead in the water, contaminating the stream. The realization struck him like a thunderbolt. His loyal hawk had been trying to save his life. Genghis Khan knelt beside his fallen friend, filled with remorse. He gently picked up the hawk's body, vowing never to act in anger or haste again. This incident taught him a profound lesson. Sometimes, those who seem to obstruct us are actually looking out for our best interests. From that day forward, Genghis Khan carried the memory of his hawk and the lesson it had imparted. He became more patient and thoughtful, listening to his advisors and warriors with a newfound understanding and respect. This change in him resonated through his empire, fostering a culture of loyalty and wisdom. Just like Genghis Khan, we should take a moment to understand and trust those around us, especially when their actions are puzzling. If this story resonates with you, please like and subscribe for more inspiring tales from history. The Gold Coin. In the bustling town of Alberia, a humble cobbler named Martin lived a simple life. His shop, though small, was known for the quality of his work and his honesty. Despite his modest means, Martin was content and well respected in his community. One day, as he was walking home from the market, Martin noticed something glinting in the dirt road. Curious, he bent down and discovered a gold coin. It was unlike any he had ever seen, with intricate engravings and a weight that suggested it was very valuable. Martin's heart raced with excitement and a bit of fear. Unsure of what to do, Martin decided to seek the counsel of Father Thomas, the town's wise and kind priest. Father Thomas examined the coin and said, "This is a rare and valuable coin indeed. But remember, Martin, that great wealth can bring both blessings and burdens." Martin thanked Father Thomas and decided to use the coin wisely. He paid off his small debts, bought better tools for his trade, and still had a substantial amount left. News of Martin's newfound wealth spread quickly through the town. People began to treat Martin differently. Some showed envy, others sought to borrow money, and a few questioned how a simple cobbler had come by such a fortune. Martin, who had always been a private and humble man, found himself at the center of attention. As time passed, Martin noticed changes within himself as well. He became more guarded, less trusting, and often worried about the safety of his remaining wealth. He realized that the gold coin, which had initially seemed like a blessing, was now a source of constant anxiety. One day, a poor old woman came to Martin's shop with worn-out shoes. She could barely afford to pay him but needed the shoes to find work. Martin, moved by her plight, decided to repair her shoes for free. The gratitude and joy in her eyes reminded him of the simple satisfaction he used to feel from helping others. Reflecting on this, Martin decided to use the rest of his wealth to benefit his community. He funded the construction of a school, supported the local orphanage, and helped families in need. The burden of wealth lifted. Martin found himself once again embraced by the community, not for his money, but for his generosity and kindness. Martin's actions inspired others in Alberia to be more giving and compassionate. The town flourished as a result, and Martin's life regained its peace and purpose. He learned that true wealth lies not in the accumulation of money, but in the strength of one's character and the impact one has on others.
King Midas was a wealthy and powerful ruler, renowned for his immense riches and grand palace. However, his insatiable desire for more wealth overshadowed everything else. One day, he stumbled upon a great opportunity when he encountered the god Dionysus. Midas showed kindness to one of Dionysus's companions, and in return, the god granted him a single wish. Midas, without hesitation, wished for the power to turn everything he touched into gold. Dionysus, though wary, granted the wish, warning Midas of the consequences. Ecstatic, Midas returned to his palace, eager to test his new ability. Everything Midas touched transformed into shimmering gold. His palace gleamed with opulence, and his treasure trove grew beyond imagination. However, the king soon realized the downside of his wish. Food and drink turned to gold, making it impossible to satisfy his hunger and thirst. The once delighted Midas grew increasingly desperate as he realized the gravity of his greed. The worst blow came when his beloved daughter ran to embrace him, and she too turned into a lifeless, golden statue. Overwhelmed with grief and regret, Midas pleaded to Dionysus to reverse the curse. The god, taking pity on him, instructed Midas to wash his hands in the river Pactolus. As he did, the golden touch flowed from his hands into the river, turning its sands golden, but freeing Midas from the curse. Having learned a painful yet profound lesson, Midas returned to his palace a changed man. He understood now that true wealth did not lie in material riches, but in the love and relationships that enrich one's life. Midas spent his remaining days cherishing his family and helping his people, grateful for the second chance he had been given. As we reflect on King Midas' story, remember that our true value lies not in our possessions, but in our connections with others. If this tale resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more inspiring stories and timeless wisdom. Click the notification bell so you never miss an update.
Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where stories illuminate the path to inner peace and understanding. Today, we delve into the tale of the Buddha and his disciple. Let's explore this insightful story together. Buddha, serene in meditation under a tree, concluded his practice feeling a bit thirsty. Nearby, one of his disciples stood ready. He asked the disciple to fetch water from a nearby pond. The disciple, taking a small bowl, made his way to the pond. Upon arrival, he found the water muddy from animals passing through. Returning to Buddha, he apologized for the muddy water. Understandingly, Buddha instructed him to go back and try again. However, even on the second attempt, the water remained murky and unfit for consumption. Buddha calmly advised, "Wait for a while." Patiently, the disciple waited. After some time had passed, Buddha encouraged him, "Please fetch the water now." This time, to the disciples' surprise, the water was crystal clear. Puzzled, he asked Buddha about this transformation. With a gentle smile, Buddha explained, "Time. When the animals stirred the water, it became muddy. By simply waiting, the mud settled and the water clarified itself. Our anger is like the animals disturbing the water. Given time, anger disperses, and our mind becomes clear, like the water." The moral of this story is profound. Never act impulsively in anger. Like muddy water stirred by animals, anger clouds our judgment. By giving ourselves time, anger subsides, allowing clarity and peace to prevail. Thank you for joining us on this journey of wisdom. If you found this story enlightening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more tales that inspire and enrich the soul. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and provide valuable life lessons. Today, we have a timeless tale that offers profound insights into perception and understanding. The story is about the blind men and the elephant. Let's dive in. A group of blind men heard that a strange animal called an elephant had been brought to their town. None of them were aware of its shape and form. Driven by curiosity, they decided, "We must inspect and understand this creature by touch, since that is within our capability." So they sought out the elephant, and when they found it, they began to explore it by touch. The first man's hand landed on the elephant's trunk. "This being is like a thick snake," he declared. The second man reached out and touched the elephant's ear. To him, it seemed like a large, floppy fan. The third man felt the elephant's leg and said, "The elephant is a pillar, much like a tree trunk." The fourth man placed his hand on the side of the elephant and confidently stated, "An elephant is a wall." The fifth man explored the elephant's tail and described it as a rope. The last man felt its tusk and concluded, "The elephant is hard, smooth, and sharp, like a spear." The moral of the story is that each of the blind men touched only one part of the elephant and described it based on their limited experience. In life, we often perceive things based on our limited understanding. This story reminds us to be aware of our limitations and seek a broader perspective before forming conclusions. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories that inspire and enlighten. Remember, every perspective has value, and understanding comes from seeing the whole picture. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and provide valuable life lessons. Today, we have a Zen story about wisdom and compassion titled A Useless Life. Let's dive in. Once upon a time, there was a farmer who had grown so old that he could no longer work the fields. Every day, he would sit on the porch, watching life go by. His son, still working hard on the farm, would glance up occasionally and see his father sitting there. Frustration would bubble up within him. "He's of no use anymore," the son thought to himself. "He doesn't do anything." One day, the son's frustration reached its peak. He decided to build a wooden coffin, dragged it to the porch, and told his father to get in. Without a word, the father calmly climbed inside. After closing the lid, the son began dragging the coffin towards the edge of the farm, where there was a high cliff. As he approached the drop, he heard a light tapping from inside the coffin. Curious, he opened the lid. Still lying there peacefully, The father looked up at his son and said, "I know you are going to throw me over the cliff, but before you do, may I suggest something?" "What is it?" replied the son. "Throw me over the cliff, if you like," said the father, "but save this good wood coffin. Your children might need to use it." The moral of the story is that there is almost no limit to the compassion parents have for their children. Having kids makes you care for your family beyond your own death. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories that inspire and enlighten. Remember, the love and wisdom of our elders are invaluable treasures. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and provide valuable life lessons. Today, we have a story about a Chinese farmer that will teach us a profound lesson about perspective. Let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer whose horse ran away. All the neighbors came around that evening and said, "That's too bad." The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back, bringing 7 wild horses with it. The neighbors gathered again and exclaimed, "That's great, isn't it?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." The following day, the farmer's son was trying to tame one of the wild horses. While riding it, he was thrown off and broke his leg. The neighbors came around in the evening and said, "Well, that's too bad, isn't it?" The farmer again replied, "Maybe." The day after, conscription officers came to the village looking for young men to join the army. Because the farmer's son had a broken leg, they rejected him. The neighbors came around that evening and said, "Well, isn't that wonderful?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." The moral of the story is that we should be careful about labeling the events in our lives as good or bad. The causal chain of the universe is complex and infinite. Real-life stories continue even after the happy ending. Thank you for watching. If you found this story insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of wisdom and inspiration. Remember, perspective is everything. Life's events are interconnected in ways we may not understand. Embrace each moment with an open mind. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and enlighten. Today, we have a profound tale about the inner battles we all face. Let's dive in. An old Cherokee was teaching his grandchildren about life. He said, "A battle is raging inside me. It is a terrible fight between 2 wolves. One wolf represents fear, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other stands for joy, peace, love, hope, sharing, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, friendship, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The old man looked at the children with a firm stare. This same fight is going on inside you, and inside every other person too. They thought about it for a minute, and then one child asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee replied, "The one you feed." Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of inspiration and wisdom. Remember, every day we face the choice of which wolf to feed. Choose to nurture the positive and let the goodness within you grow. Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and enlighten. Today, we have a heartfelt tale about finding sunshine even on the darkest days. Let's dive in. It was the last in a line of long, dreary, rainy days. I hadn't seen the sun come out for more than a few moments for the better part of the week. Being a light lover, this had left me feeling tired, run down, and a bit grumpy. Even though I don't usually pray about such things, I asked God for just a peak of sunshine to brighten my day, warm my heart, and uplift my spirits. I stopped by a local store to grab a bottle of vitamins. The line at the checkout counter was 4 deep, but I didn't mind. At least it was bright and dry inside the store. I chatted for a few minutes with a middle-aged lady in front of me with a cart full of diapers. I didn't ask if she had a new baby at her age or was helping out a daughter or son with theirs. But her tired face looked like it had seen a few sleepless nights recently. When it was her turn, she slowly pulled out some wadded, worn bills to pay for the diapers. She counted carefully and emptied out her wallet, but was still about 70 cents short. I quickly grabbed my own wallet and threw a $1 bill on top of hers. She turned her head and blessed me with a bright, beautiful, shining smile. She thanked me over and over again, and I just smiled back and said, "You're welcome." After she had left and I'd paid for my vitamins, I walked outside. It had started to rain again, but I didn't mind. I knew that God, in His infinite love, had answered my prayer. I had wanted a peak of sunshine, and that is what I'd gotten in her smile. I felt energized, full of love, and ready to enjoy the day. I realized too that the sunshine in a soul is even brighter than the sunshine in the sky. Some days in this life, we are the only peak of sunshine that a person might get. Don't keep yours hidden then. Let your love burn bright. Let God's light shine through you. Let the goodness of your soul glow through every smile you share and everything you do. Thank you for watching. If this story warmed your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of inspiration and wisdom. Remember, be the sunshine in someone's life and let your light shine brightly.
Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and enlighten. Today, we have a delightful tale about perspective and divine timing. Let's dive in. A man walked to the top of a hill to talk to God. The man asked, "God, what's 1,000,000 years to you?" God replied, "A minute." Then the man asked, "Well, what's $1,000,000 to you?" God said, "A penny." The man, seeing an opportunity, asked, "God, can I have a penny?" And God said, "Sure, in a minute." This story reminds us of the vast difference between our perspective and God's perspective. What may seem like an eternity to us is just a fleeting moment to the divine. Similarly, what we consider immense wealth is merely a tiny fraction in the grand scheme of the universe. It teaches us patience and trust in divine timing. We often seek immediate gratification and quick answers, but sometimes we need to align our expectations with a broader, more timeless perspective. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more stories of inspiration and wisdom. Remember, trust in the divine timing and have patience, for everything unfolds as it should. Embrace patience and trust in the divine timing.
Welcome to Wisdom Temple, where we share stories that inspire and enlighten. Today we have a thought-provoking tale about purpose and environment. Let's dive in. A mother and a baby camel were lying around under a tree. The baby camel, full of curiosity, began to ask questions. "Mother, why do camels have humps?" The mother camel considered this and said, "We are desert animals, so we have humps to store water, allowing us to survive with very little water." The baby camel thought for a moment and then asked, "Why are our legs long and our feet rounded?" The mama replied, "They are meant for walking in the desert, helping us navigate the sandy terrain." The baby paused, reflecting on her mother's answers. After a beat, the baby camel asked, "Why are our eyelashes so long? Sometimes they get in my way." The mama responded, "Those long, thick eyelashes protect your eyes from the desert sand when it blows in the wind." The baby thought and thought. Then he said, "I see. So the hump is to store water, for when we are in the desert. The legs are for walking through the desert, and these eyelashes protect my eyes from the desert sand. Then why are we in the zoo?" The mother camel was silent, reflecting on her baby's question. The environment they were in did not match the purpose of their adaptations. This story reminds us of the importance of being in the right environment where our skills and traits can be used to their fullest potential. Just like the camels, we have unique abilities and strengths designed for specific circumstances. Being in the wrong environment can limit our true potential and the impact we can make. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Temple for more insightful stories and lessons. Remember, it's essential to place yourself in an environment that aligns with your purpose and strengths. Find your desert and thrive.